Okay, so about 3 weeks ago, ish, I watched through Mobile Suit Gundam Unicorn. I think that's probably what the full title is. I don't know. After learning that Wings or full title is like, what is it? New Mobile Report Gundam Wing. I don't know what the fuck most of these shows are called anymore. I just know this one is Unicorn. And I'm gonna be honest, I think out of all the Gundam properties that I've watched so far, I think Unicorn's my favorite. And part of that is it has a lot of things that I like about UC in it. There's a lot of its own, like, just kind of shit that it does that I like and get into. And throughout the series, especially at the end, I just kind of felt like I was watching Kingdom Hearts. And I mean that in the best possible way. So, I think the first aspect I want to talk about when it comes to Unicorn is I just like that it examines what it really means to be a new type. And that while new types make for exceptional pilots, throughout the series they've been shown to be very unstable. You know, we see it with Four and with Rosami, like they definitely kind of speak for themselves. But even Camille was prone to emotional outbursts. Like the whole rivalry with Jared first starts not with I feel I should go ahead and say right now, full spoilers for all of you see. I'll have that in the description too. But like, Camille's rivalry with Jared doesn't start when Jared kills Camille's mom. It starts with Camille hearing, "You think my name is a girl's name," and then just immediately starts throwing hands. Um, Throughout Double Zeta, you know, we have Bicha and Mondo who spend a good amount of time just switching sides between different people. We see both Purus who, because I watched Unicorn dubbed, I will be referring to as Play because I think that's how, like, it's PLE. I think that was how they pronounced it. So we have the Play twins in Double Zeta, and to say nothing of Cass from CCA, who is a very, very unstable character throughout. But another thing we see about new types, which gets into the instability but isn't necessarily a bad thing, is how quickly they're able to make connections with other people. One of my favorite moments of Unicorn is, I believe it's near the end of the first episode, maybe it's about like halfway through, with Benager and Audrey, and I'll probably alternate between calling her Audrey and Maneva throughout the video. But there's a bit when they're talking to Cardius Vist and they're in the Vist Manor, and then Benager's just telling this girl that he's known for, I don't know, maybe like a couple hours at this point, like, "Tell me you need me, and I will do anything for you." And then her just looking at him cold, "I don't need you," and just how it fucking shattered him. I loved that scene, and I know it sounds like probably really dark and mean-spirited, but I think it shows, it's like I was saying, the ability to make connections quickly and how that's a good thing and a bad thing. You know, it shows that Benager is able to care about this person that he's never met before really quick. And like, "No, you mean the world to me. I can't really explain why, but I know that you do." And a lot of the series going forward is Benager acting on that, for better or for worse. But honestly, I would say for the most part, for the better. But it also shows that, yeah, while a new type is able to make those connections very quickly, for people who aren't new types or who aren't as, I don't know if gifted is the right word, but I guess just aren't, even new types who aren't quite as sensitive, that comes across as very overwhelming. And I liked that. I found that shit super interesting. But again, it is that ability of Benager's, which is why he's able to empathize with so many people, and why you see a lot of changes in a lot of people. And we'll kind of get to a list of people as we go on. But it leads into one of the things I really love about Unicorn as well, which is its tone. Throughout the series, it manages to kind of maintain that balance of being very hopeful while not shying away from the horrors of war. We see a slew of characters die throughout the series. I made a list. We've got Cardius Vist, most of Benager's classmates, Commander Daguza, Mr. Gilboa, Lonnie, all the fucking people that Lonnie massacred, Miss Marita, Full Frontal, and I think there's just a bunch of other soldiers that we see that I didn't know the names of. One that really stands out in my mind is the sniper Zaku, because his name was probably said and I didn't catch it, but he was the one that was really close to Lonnie and was trying to tell her, like, no, like, I hope you do live. I hope you do find a reason to live. Unicorn is a series that doesn't seem to believe that anyone except for maybe Martha Vist is beyond redemption, or that anyone is truly evil. And as I was saying earlier, a lot of that is shown from Banagher's empathy and his willingness to listen to people, his willingness to talk to people, and how he wants to see people change. He wants to see people get better. And the show does end in a hopeful way with the unveiling of Laplace's box. And I do kind of want to talk about the box real quick, because while I was watching the show, I didn't know what was in the box going forward. Like, I really didn't know much about Unicorn at all. And I personally was hoping the box was going to be empty. With the way both sides talked about it, it's like, oh, I don't know what the fuck is in the box. I don't know what the fuck is in the box. I just don't want them to have it. And the fact that they specifically point out the fact that the box has been unopened and the fact that it's sealed, this is what is almost kind of kept peace. You know, if the box is open, who knows what the fuck is going to happen? I was like, wouldn't it be really interesting if there was nothing in it? Like, it was just some bullshit that was made up. And it's like all of this war, all this death and destruction is literally based on something that has no value and has no meaning. Because Banagher even says, like, I think in a pretty early episode, war is never justified. And I think having the box literally be nothing would have played into that really well. Ultimately, yes, there is some shit in the box. It's the original charter. It's the original charter for the Universal Century about how if humanity ends up like kind of evolving and we have a new species of us, they should get priority in governing the new world. And the show, to me, doesn't really say either way if that's new types. It seems that some people are like, no, 100% that's what new types are. Banagher and Audrey are kind of a bit coy with it. They're like, can we really say that new types are a new species? Like, I don't know. We're still pretty close to humanity to be able to make that distinction. Which, again, to me, that does feel, again, kind of hopeful. Where instead of trying to say, hey, this is our world now, fuck you, it's, no, we're still human. For all the good and all the bad, we are not necessarily better than other people. But we do want to try to make the world a better place. We do want to make a more peaceful world, a more empathetic world, and we're hopeful that we can all come together. Going into some of the themes of UC that I see on display throughout this series, and I'll get to some of the themes, like, to me, what the big theme of Unicorn is aside from that. One of them is environmentalism. We see that the Earth's resources have been depleted. To use a Dave Chappelle quote, has been bombed out and depleted. I'm saying a lot in this episode, my bad. Sorry, I was about to do another and went, wait, I shouldn't do that, and I got really self-conscious. But to the point, Earth's resources have been depleted. That's why, in addition to people actually being cast off into space, a lot of people went willingly to seek better lives for them or for their family. Empathy has always been a big thing in UC, and like I've said throughout, it is a major part of Banagher's character. Anti-war, because it's Gundam, you kind of expect that too. We see a lot of civilians getting killed in the crossfire throughout Unicorn. You get Zinnerman's entire backstory and his inability to let go, Lonnie's inability to let go, which is getting even more people killed and just perpetuating that cycle of violence. One of my favorite moments is after Marita dies, just Riddy and Banagher's reaction to it. I think it was Riddy who just like threw up, and just how strongly that affected him, which again also kind of gets at the new type sense of empathy and whatnot, but also people seeing fucked up shit happen on the battlefield, and sometimes they're the cause of it, like with Riddy and Marita. And I think the quote, because I have it in quotation marks, so I believe I wrote this exactly, is a quote from Banagher: "War is never justified. Innocent people just die." Which I feel like, again, kind of coming right after Double Zeta and remembering the, what was her name? It was the Crybaby something arc, but it's about that one civilian who like really got caught in the crossfire and ended up dying. That to me is a major, major theme of Gundam. But another major theme of Gundam, And one of the really big ones in Unicorn, again, like these have all been things in Unicorn, it is humanity's potential to change. I believe it's right at the end of episode 6, just the penultimate episode. It's like, this is what the conflict of Unicorn is it can we change? We are trying to prove that humanity can change and we can change for the better. And we do see a lot of people changing throughout. We do see Banagher becoming a lot more willing to fight. He still doesn't like to kill people, but he won't back down. We see Full Frontal starting to break away from being Char's vessel and kind of starting to become his own person. We see Riddy, and he does keep changing sides, but it is something we do see changing. We see Zinnerman letting go of his hatred and being able to try to move forward. We see Lonnie trying to do that, and Banagher almost getting there with her and coming just shy. And my favorite moment of the show, where I fucking cried, is with Marita breaking free of her brainwashing and her making a decision that wasn't something she was ordered to do. And it's when she says to Zinnerman, just, Father, just this once, will you let me have my way? Like, I fucking cried. It was beautiful. I don't remember if this was actual dialogue, because this one I don't have in quotation marks, or if it was just kind of summing up a conversation. But I believe it was also in that penultimate episode where I think it's either Full Frontal or Angelo is saying, like, we need something better than humanity. And I don't know if it was Maneva, Marita, or Banagher who essentially said, like, no, it's not what we need is something better. What we need is just each other. And again, I think that kind of gets back into the ending with the box. It's not them saying, yeah, we need something better than humanity. That's new types. We're good. We got it. It's no. New types are different, but we're basically the exact same thing. It's not that you need us and we're the future. We're all the fucking future because we're all the fucking present, and we can change and move forward together. Beautiful shit. Absolute cinema. But the unique theme to me from Unicorn is that theme of legacy, because there are so many characters throughout this series that are just carrying on the wills of other people, but either fighting to kind of do it their own way, or while they're carrying out someone else's will, just kind of says, fuck it, that's what that person was doing, I want to do something different. You have Banagher carrying out Cardius Vist's will and wanting to break the curse of Laplace's box placed upon the Vist family. You have Martha and Albert, who are maintaining that curse, and Albert really going along with what she's doing, but kind of wanting to go away from that as the series goes on. You have Maneva, who is the legacy of the entire fucking Zabi family, who is trying to stop the war. You have Riddy carrying on from, the legacy of his father and his family, who's torn between the original intent of his ancestor that, yeah, maybe new types are the future and we should let that happen, and just the current state of his family and the power they have. Full Frontal, who has the legacy of being a literal fucking Char clone and wanting to fulfill the will of Char as being the face of Neo Zeon, which there is that one bit that I really like. I maybe should have put this at the end of the video with my other observations, but I wrote it in here, where he's talking to Maneva and she just tells him, you lack the madness and passion of Char, which I just really, number one, she's right, and number two, I just love that description of Char. It's like, that's what made him work. The dude was crazy as fuck, but he was passionate, and he really believed the insane shit that he was doing and was saying, and that's what made him so magnetic, for better or for worse, and that's what you don't have. Again, you have Zinnerman and Lonnie carrying on the anger of the people that they lost to the Federation. You have Marita, who is the last of the play line, not wanting to be used as a tool for another master. And the series itself, in kind of a meta sense, is carrying on the legacy and storylines of Universal Century, which is why I feel like a lot of the themes of UC are here, aside from, it's a Gundam property, probably going to have these. To me, it feels very intentional that a lot of these those previously mentioned elements of the series are there. And also, I just kind of want to hit on some other UC representation, because there's a pretty good amount, in the fucking ending of the show, you see the spirits of Amuro, Char, and Lawa appearing in the finale, which is both referencing them because they were in 79, as well as just the ending of CCA, and for better or for worse, giving closure. I thought that was kind of neat, just confirming this is what happened to them. But I remember talking to Jose, he's like, I don't like that, specifically because CCA made their fates feel more ambiguous, and if you want to make it ambiguous, you should keep it ambiguous, and I think that's fair. Like I said, we get more of the Red Comet because Full Frontal is a literal clone of Char. So I only watched the OVA. The OVA does not go into that. I don't know if the novels do or if that's just like other supplementary material. Because I was like it feels like that's what he's supposed to be, but the show never goes into that. And I was like, okay, no, yeah, he is literally a clone of Char. That's pretty interesting. We see Bright, who's the old classic Legacy character. My boy Kai Shiden makes a couple cameos. The fact that Maneva Zabi is a fucking character in this and like actually gets to do things and is not just like a plot point or like a figurehead. She's actually a character. So it's, aside from like, again, Char in his own way and Bright making appearances, it's not that there's a lot from Zeta, but there's almost an idea from Zeta that I thought was super neat to be here. And it's, I believe it's in the final episode, it might have been in the penultimate, but there's a bit between Riddy and Banagher where Riddy's just kind of says, like, if it weren't for you, Banagher, and I immediately thought of Jared, because those were his dying words to Camille. If it weren't for you, Camille, and then it's when he dies. And then, we got some double Zeta representation. Fucking finally, like, we got Play 12, which, like, just the whole fucking yickety yikes of that. And also, we kind of got a Glemmy Toto cameo. Like, you don't really see him, but when they're talking about, like, oh, yeah, the play line, and they were made by, like, this dude, and blah, 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 you see, like, the shadow of Glemmy Toto. I will say, given the fact that the main ship was the Nahel Argama, I would have liked to see more of the cast of Double Zeta. Like, Beecha ended as the fucking captain of the ship. If he was there, if he was part of Londo Bell, I think that would have been super neat, but, it is what it is. I mentioned Unicorn reminding me a lot of Kingdom Hearts. Let me talk about that for a bit. There is that recurring thing, kind of in the way they address Legacy. Like I said, you're carrying on someone's will, but also you're trying to do your own thing with it. They frequently talk, like, characters be like, hey, follow your heart, make your own path, which feels very Kingdom Heartsy. It's very much a story about the power of love and the power of friendship, which, the power of empathy. To me, Banagher has a lot of Sora in him. He's someone who was chosen by his weapon. I haven't really said anything about the unicorn itself. Let me just bring up, I think it might be my favorite mobile suit. Particularly in, like, the single horn version. Like, I know, it looks kind of stupid. But I really just like the look of this thing, man. There's something about it where I'm like, this is perfect. This is fantastic. But he was chosen by his weapon. He is someone who shows a lot of compassion for other people. His heart is strong enough to save people. And as it goes on, like, when push comes to shove, he is not afraid to fight. Riddy reminded me a lot of Riku, like, kind of a lot of KH1 Riku, where there's this very strong, like, friendship rivalry with Banagher. Both of them are fighting over the same girl. And Riddy and Riku are people who really believe in action. You got to take your destiny by the hands. But that's not what wins Kairi/Audrey. That's the compassion that Banagher and Sora display throughout the game/show. And like Riku, Riddy is someone who kind of falls to darkness, but ends up repenting and is trying to help out however he can by the end. And weirdly enough, this isn't KH1, but I kind of got some Xemnas vibes from Full Frontal. Just, both of them are farming and collecting hearts, but in their own way. Like, for Xemnas, it's a very literal thing to make his Kingdom Hearts. But for Full Frontal, he is trying to collect hearts and wills. It's just like, I am a vessel. I'm not really my own person, but I am trying to embody all of that to become the person they need me to be. And also just that sense of, an empty vessel devoid of self is very Xemnas-like to me. Like, I kind of wrote down, it's like he's to Char what Xemnas is to Xehanort, and like I kind of fuck with that. And I'll be honest, I found Full Frontal kind of boring for a lot of the show, and just his whole, like, I am a vessel and blah, blah, blah. Like, what are we doing? but with the full context of, yes, he is a literal clone of Char, but as Audrey points out, you lack his madness, you lack his passion. You are physically him, but you don't have his heart. And him being very much aware of that, I actually do find pretty damn interesting. So that's kind of most of what I wanted to say. Now I'm just going to go through a list of just some other observations that, like, things I noticed and just some shit I liked. Number one, the first time I saw Marita, I was like, this just looks like Kagura from Gintama as an adult. Like, almost like a combination of Kagura and her brother Kamui. And I thought that was neat as fuck. Her character reminds me a lot of Ren Bright from Trails. A victim of human experimentation. Has some, like, very strong, like, psychic-ish abilities. He's a sex slave. It's incredibly uncomfortable when she calls someone master. And the close ties she has with a robot companion, although it's very different with Ren and Potter Mater, it's like, oh, this is like her replacement family and replacement parents versus how Marita sees the Quebly as this very dominating, controlling figure. And that scene of, like, the faceless Maria coming, like, out of the Quebly to grab her was creepy as fuck, and it was great. There's this line I think it's Daguza has to Ben Azure where he's like, I don't have to do this. I'm not a soldier. Like, you're right. You're not a soldier, but you keep interfering with destiny. You have a responsibility to see the consequences of your actions through. Because lives have been saved because of you, but lives have been ended because of you too. And I really liked that. There's the scene where the sniper Zaku attempts seppuku with the gun, which was like a really fucked up, a really cool image. Just that whole bit with I think that they call it the Kobe Bjarland. That shit was dope as hell. I really liked that. That bit with Ben Azure and Zinnerman, where after learning his whole story, Ben Azure starts crying, and he's like, I know, you're going to tell me, like, I'm a man, I shouldn't cry, and I need to be better. And he's like, no, I don't trust anyone who doesn't cry. There is nothing weak and nothing wrong about crying because you care about another person. I really liked that. There's that scene with Minerva and the old man in, like, his coffee shop that I just really liked. There was a point where I realized, so the plot of Unicorn is you have this, like, magical, you got this MacGuffin, and you're, like, the chosen one of the MacGuffin, and you're following its coordinates, but you're following the coordinates backwards so you can find, like, the real MacGuffin, essentially. Like, it's not one-to-one. Like, this feels very familiar because this is kind of just what Project Horizons is, where the main character is also a unicorn. Was this somehow, like, is this a weird coincidence? And also just thinking about Blackjack's character and, despite her massive body count, this is a character who portrays herself as a pacifist and does not want to kill anybody. And it's like, there is some Ben Azure there. Is this a coincidence, or did Unicorn actually inspire some of Project Horizons? I wasn't expecting to watch a Gundam show that was like, this is Project Horizons meets Kingdom Hearts, but also it's just very indicative of UC as a whole. It's kind of bizarre, but I fucked with it. Of the fucking fight between Zinnerman and Ben Azure, it's like, you can't, like, why are you doing this? This isn't war, this is vengeance. This is war. There's nothing wrong with vengeance. Like, you've been through hell, and that does not give you the right to do this to other people. Like, it's fantastic. Ben Azure's attempt to save Lonnie, and, like, the one exchange where she's like, I have nothing else. Then find something. Like, find something to live for. Like, it's beautiful. And just, I don't remember if these were her last words or not. I think they were. Where she just looks at him and she starts crying. Like, Ben Azure, isn't it sad? And then she gets, like, blasted into oblivion. Just, damn, the show was fucking good. The scene where Ben Azure and Minerva actually get to Laplace's box, and there's like all these fucking dolphins and shit around them. It reminded me of that scene from Unlimited Blade Works, like specifically the anime, not the VN. If you know, you know. Like, what the fuck? Why are the dolphins here? Speaking of dumb, goofy shit, just the look of the Neo Zeong and its giant, thick-ass fucking tree trunk thruster thighs. It was so goofy. The time travel sequence, that whole bit, that was cool. That was really cool. That was really, I have it in my notes. It's weird, wild, amazing, absolute cinema. And there's just one interaction between Banagher and Marita that I wanted to highlight, where he's talking about just how, like, everything he's done is blown up in his face. Like, he hasn't actually been able to do anything. He hasn't been able to help anybody. To which she says to him, it's like, you know, you say all that, but if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be talking right now. Like, you saved me. And then she just, like, hugs him and just, like, scratches his head. And, like, this is the sweetest fucking thing I've ever seen. So, that was Unicorn. And yeah, like, talking about it, kind of looking over my notes, just remembering a lot of the shit that happened, I think I can safely say, at this point, this has been my favorite Gundam show.